Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you want to open for me?
You want to open the meeting? Your Vice President.
Lori Kokoski has the dog today. Let's see. Watch out, Lori. I was playing with the dog, so it might be a little wound up.
Come on, look what I have. Whoop. We're going to dance. Look. All right. We have a female. She's only like 4 months old. She's going to be big and tall and very, very good dog. She's part German Shepherd, and I'm not sure what else, but she'll make somebody a wonderful pet. Come down to our dog pound. She will be available for you on Saturday after 3 o'clock if you want to come and get her. She'll make you a very good pet. She has a lot of energy, so I hope you have a nice fenced-in yard for her. Well, thank you for coming today. It is February 8th, Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting. Madam Clerk?
Under resolutions, we have no job and family services bills, investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Under the auditor, authorized conveyance fee refund in the amount of $2,250 to Chicago Title Company that was paid in error.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Commissioner. I do want to have a brief executive session with the Commissioners today to discuss a few potential new hires. Some of them are summer hires, which we are pretty much process orientated. Golden Acres potential there. Also, a potential hire in workforce development, and an update on some issues with 911 and our labor contract there. Those topics are allowable for executive session discussions. I'd ask at the conclusion of a regular board meeting today, we go into executive session to have those talks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same in the County Commissioners meeting minutes of February 1st, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Authorize a $1,000 payment for each indigent veteran to Boyer and Cool Home for Funerals, Lorain, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5901 for Mark R. Kokoski, Senior, Lorain, Corny N. Merrill, Cartmail, Lorain, and Dennis L. Sprouse, Elyria.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Community Development award contract to Old Town Windows and Doors, Inc., Mylan, in the amount of $36,995, which includes a contingency for any unforeseen change orders for Teresa Garcia at 4975 Orzie Avenue, Sheffield Township, for renovations to her structures. 20 invitations were sent, only one received, this being the most responsive complying with specifications, and will be paid from account Chip Home House Rehab.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Amendment Resolution 11467 adopted July 20th, 2011, agreement with CT Consultants for the design, bid documents, and contract oversight and inspections for CDBG funded sewer installation in Sheffield Township along Albany Avenue. Said amendment is to reflect an extension of CDBG formula grant for FY10, and service connections are to be provided to every sublot on Albany Avenue, changing scope of service and creating an additional fee of $2,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer, accept recommendation of the Stormwater Advisory Committee Projects Evaluation Subcommittee for 5 projects in the amount of $56,985. 1 West Branch Log Jam Removal, 450 feet, ditch in Pittsfield Township. Project cost is $9,450. Total grant request is $8,410. Bevins Ditch, Hidden Valley, clearing and cleaning a 1,260 feet ditch, 100 homes in Amherst. Total project cost $18,000. Grant requested $16,021. Carlisle Avenue Outlet Ditch, clearing and cleaning, 560 feet ditch, 40 homes, Carlisle. Project cost $3,895. Grant request $3,466. Meadow Creek Outlet Ditch, clearing and cleaning, 660 feet ditch, 7 homes, Carlisle, $3,895. Project cost. Grant request $3,466. And Forsnesia Crossover Clearing and Cleaning, 2016 feet ditch, 35 homes, Columbia. Project cost $28,780. Grant requested $25,622 for a total project cost of $64,028, and grant requested $56,985.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Question, Mr. Cordez, on the Stormwater Advisory Committee. Project costed $64,000, grant request $57,000 roughly. How's the difference on that being handled?
Some of the funding is coming from local sources, from the township.
Okay.
It's more of a partnership and a collaboration with regards to funding the projects. And additional considerations given to those projects that already have some local support or local funding to supplement the grant funding that's going to come through the screening process. And of course, one of the things we also have some projects that are going to be very large in cost. So we're looking in the future of possibly partially funding those and then doing a roll-up each time so that we can accumulate funds for a larger project. This is our first cycle. We're finally getting the money back out into the community to start doing these projects, and hopefully we'll see every year we'll see this growing and producing more. One of the things I need to remind the board of, it's in the resolution but not necessary here, that these funds will not be released until the ditch, and actually I think it's 4 of the 5 have ditches that need to go on permanent maintenance. So there's no sense us going out there sharing and collaborating and funding to get a ditch cleaned up or an issue corrected with it, and only to find ourselves back there in 3 or 4 years and no maintenance fund established for the continued improvement and maintaining of the clearing of that ditch. So when people read this, I don't want them to think that people coming in automatically getting that money. It's going to be allocated, but it's going to sit there until we receive the petition. And I have spoken to you briefly, and we'll be bringing back more information, but we have to look at that petition process. In the past, the board has had a practice of almost requiring unanimous approval of a petition before they would go forward and assessing a maintenance, continuous perpetual maintenance to the property owners. We need to give serious consideration to lowering that requirement, or we'll never get any of these projects done.
Right.
So it would be a majority rather than one person can stop the whole project.
And you remember our discussions, and the recommendation is going to be from us is that if a majority of the ditch owners are supportive of the project, we should look favorably upon moving forward. We have to move these issues forward. The mechanism that we need to bring back is what constitutes a majority. Is it by property? Is it by cost? Is it
Front foot.
Right. We still haven't worked out those mechanics, and we have people working on some way of establishing those benchmarks that we'll bring back to you. This is going to continue to get larger and larger, and you're going to be seeing more and more of these details as we go forward. So this is round one, but the petitions have to come in, and these funds will just continue to be set aside for these projects until we get those petitions.
So we're going to go in and clean the ditch, and then once the ditch is cleaned, and that does not cost the property owner anything at that time, and then after that they'll have a maintenance fee. Is that how that's going to work?
Right. Actually, right now, it is costing the property owner a small fee because everybody in the
Stormwater
district.
management fee.
Correct. Everybody's paying a stormwater management fee, so they have participation in the district. It is also going to be the recommendation, once we put them on permanent maintenance and those issues are corrected and they have a way of keeping them corrected, that we give them a reduction which is allowable for that stormwater fee. So we'll be bringing all that back to you as we progress. We were reluctant to recommend that they also pay a stormwater fee and they pay a maintenance fee on a permanent basis for a ditch. So I think we need to bring good balance to that and sensibility to how we get these things resolved and show good partnership with these folks.
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kalo?
Aye.
Award contract to Signal Service Warrensville in the amount of $29,995 for West River Road flashing school zone installation. 3 bids were received on February 3rd, this being the most responsive complying with specifications, and will be paid from an OPWC grant.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I see Mr. Carney's in the audience. Did you have anything that you wanted to bring up? No? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
I have no additional reports or comments this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor?
Commissioners, I have no report this morning either.
Commissioners report.
Before I give my report, I'm going to have Mr. Ron Nabakowski. Did you want to come up and discuss your proposal?
We were here 2 or 3 years ago, I guess, on pretty much the same proposal. This is a collaboration between the county auditor and the clerk of the courts. 2 years ago, you had the deputy registrar, BMV, in our building, and we turned that down, and they moved out to Chestnut Commons. The law allows county auditors, and we think county auditors have the right, and we may take legal action on this, to be the deputy registrar in a county. That's the way it is in Summit County, it's the way it is in Montgomery County. Any county in the state, with a population of 40,000 or less, the clerk of courts can be the deputy registrar. But in counties like ours, the deputy registrars, we have 5 of them, I think, and clerk are separate. And what people have to do in our county is, you buy a car, you have to come to me and get a title, and then you have to go out to Chestnut Commons and get your license plates. We are proposing, and Mark Stewart is signing the application to the state, that he become the auditor. And in collaboration, I will supervise a staff at that building so that people can come in and take care of all of that business at one time. And the sidebar to that is that the county gets the profit on it, which we think will be well in excess of $100,000 a year, close to $2 million, which the general fund could use. So my association has been active in the state trying to get clerks of court made deputy registrars, which would be raise $25 to $30 million for counties around the state who need the money because of the cut in local government funds. And we're just here today to ask your support of this proposal, so we can send it down with the proposal to the registrar, who's Michael Rankin, and hopefully get it. Now, I really have a hard time understanding why Mark Stewart didn't get it last time. He got the same points as the registrar did. They put her on probation for some reason for 90 days and reappointed her. We think their employees would be better off. In fact, we don't think we would absorb their employees. Whether we can keep them all or have to keep them all, I really don't think so. We probably would be overstaffed because our people can be trained, cross-trained, their people can be cross-trained, so we help each other. So it's a collaboration that would benefit financially the county and every citizen who buys a car and has to go to both places.
So we're not going to add employees by doing this?
We won't add employees at all, no. We have the same number of staff. Our people will be trained to do that. We'll take on her people, see how many we need. We may not be able to keep her people forever because I think, there is some overlap this time when It's one of those, what do you call them? Economies of scale, I guess. Which I'm not crazy about in general, but I don't see that there's any downside. Certainly no downside for the county. It's just additional revenue.
The only thing you're asking is, there'll be a $25,000 upfront cost to do this, and
Yes, we
then
may do that.
eventually, by the end of the year, we would get about $100,000
We hope
with
well.
no additional cost for space,
Right.
employees, or anything like that.
We'll do the same as we did with North Ridgeville. You advance us the cash, and we'll pay you back very quickly with a profit. So.
I'm sorry, I just got this information today, and actually
We worked on it all day yesterday, so.
Yeah, I just got mine today, too.
and an 18-page document that I'm trying to read here. Wow, understand this as well.
The president.
4-to-1 return on the investment, that's always good. So, and bringing the two groups together, I'm in agreement with. I just want to, where are you getting the $100,000? I see on one here you got an estimate projected annual revenue of $137,000.
Teresa got that from the RFQ.
That's the RFP that's online that I printed out just so we had some information.
Mr. McDonald, Bob McDonald and my staff actually prepared there's a deadline for Friday, and yesterday we spent a lot of time with Mark's office putting things together. Mark Stewart had to go through fingerprinting and a whole lot of other stuff to put this together. And we should have come to you early. I wish we had. I really didn't know the deadline was this early.
Commissioners, online with the BMV is the entire proposal, a request for proposal. Part of that is the projection on what that particular site brings in per year in fees, which is in excess of $500,000 a year. From that $500,000, you pay the salaries and the office expenses. Between $100,000 and $150,000 profit we project, and that could be even more because we can cross-train some of the title people and cross-train, of course, the deputy clerks to do the title work. So we would shrink down what they currently have to have now is a staff of about 12 people. By blending the two offices together, our staff cost would be like 8 people. So we would increase it, but the projection is about $135,000 if we would leave that center exactly the way it is now. By combining it, we're going to reduce the cost.
It's also, I can't stress enough, it's a customer service issue. If you move in from Michigan to Ohio, to Lorain County, and you have to take your car there and get it examined, then you have to bring it down to me to get a title, then you have to go back to there to get license plates. I mean, it's a horrible system. The system exists because in the old days, the parties, it was originally formed up to raise money for the parties. Whoever had the governor appointed in the deputy registrar kicked back to the party. The Celeste administration ended that in 89 or 89. They're no longer allowed to kick back. There's a bunch of problems. But the system exists, and now we've got a number of people who are out of the state who have several of these things. It's not entrepreneurship. There's no risk involved. It's a guaranteed territory. There's a guaranteed revenue stream. It's just very bad customer service for people who have to go to 2 different places. And, it makes one person a lot of money, and everybody else is pretty much minimum wage. So we think if the county needs the money, for a long time it's appeared to me that this is a great idea for us. It would be a great idea, and it would be so much simpler. I mean, the confusion for the public. I don't know anybody. I get calls from legislators complaining because my people treated somebody bad. It's the deputy registrar. It wasn't my people. I run for office. My people don't treat people bad, or they don't stay with my people very long. So, but people are confused, and then they're confused about where they have to go to get anything done. This really, in my view, the state would be very wise if they would just make the clerks of court the deputy registrars and take the driver's license part of this stuff and give it to the state patrol, because now driver's licenses are more important to identification than anything else. The patrol gives a driver's test. They could control it. They could use the fees. They badly need the fees. Instead, we have this silly system that is supported because private contributions somewhere in lobbyists in Columbus.
So who makes the salary, who pays for the salary of the 12 people that are there right now, the state?
No, the deputy registrar.
Oh,
They're her employees or his
They get
employees.
$3.50 on every license plate.
But they'll become Mark's employees.
Yeah.
Mark will have somebody, he'll have in the office, he'll have a chief, a bookkeeper more or less, because the separate financial reports two different computer systems. They just don't bring this stuff up to date. So his people will take care of remitting that portion to them. I'll remit, we'll handle the title fund the way we do it now. The county gets the excess profit.
We looked at this 2 or 3 years ago and we weren't successful, but it's still a way of
Still don't know
combining
why we weren't
services,
successful, but we weren't. Yes.
Convenience for
And I think the big
constituents.
difference now, and the reason I called Mark and said, let's do this collaboration again, it's a big word, and it's a good word. I think government has to do this. Then we were in the Broad Street office, and people came in, they'd have to come to my office in the back, and then they have to go over to their office in the front. When we get this thing done, they'll just go to one place, one clerk. One clerk will take care of everything for them. Now, they have to go to their office out in the Commons, and then come back down here, and in some cases go back there. It's just nuts. Nobody wins by this except a few individuals around the state who are deputy registrars.
So in order for you to move forward, do you need a resolution or a letter?
We would like one, yeah.
We'd like
You
a
have
letter
to-
to be fine, I think, because the
Yeah, letter
deadline
of
is Friday.
support would be fine on an application
Yeah.
process, a resolution if you're awarded
If I had
to
more time,
establish.
if I had more time, I'd have drafted a resolution for you, but I just didn't have time. We've
So-
done this kind of
Letter of support is just getting it so you can turn the paperwork in.
Absolutely.
But the actual commitment of the $25,000 wouldn't come until after you get
You
approval.
were
and
awarded.
Did we get approved?
That is correct.
It's
Oh.
not an application fee.
No, it's not a fee.
No.
No, it's, I'm okay, I'm okay with it. The one thing I would want to do is take a look at it. With the support, I'm not going to commit to it until I can do the research and read it. But from everything you're telling me, it sounds like a good plan.
We could have, when do we have to put it in the mail?
I have to
Tomorrow?
put it in the mail this afternoon.
Oh,
I
this
have to
We'll
send
get
over
it done. Well, do we need to take a vote on that, or are we just all saying that we're
Yeah, just send a
okay
letter
with
of
it?
support from the Board of Commissioners. Teresa, can you get that drawn up and over to Mr. McDonald for this afternoon?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.
See you, Nabby.
All right, back to my report. I just want to say that my thoughts and prayers go out to all that knew and loved Art Weber. He was very dedicated to his community, very supportive to all of us, and he's going to be greatly missed by me and everyone else, I'm sure. I have a flyer that I'm going to hang up out in our lobby. It's a spaghetti dinner fundraiser for the Valor Home. It's going to be Sunday, March the 4th from 1 to 4 at Rosewood Place on Oberlin Avenue. The cost is $10 for spaghetti, salad rolls, desserts. We're going to have door prizes, raffles, and a 50-50. So if you'd like to go out and support Valor Home, which is going to be on the 5th floor of St. Joe's Hospital, regardless of what the Chronicle said yesterday. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, the sheriff sent me this. It's from the Gongwear, Ohio. It's some type of magazine or,
It's a news report.
Is it a news-
Like Reuters.
okay,
It's a news reporting.
news reporting. It says state revenues exceeded estimates in two major tax categories last month, resulting in $70 million more in collections than budgeted planners anticipated for in January. So I'm going to just say, hopefully, with Ted, you've been asking for the state to give us our money, our local government fund money back. I would hope that since the state is seeing such large increases in revenue, that they would, in fact, reinstate our local government funds, because we surely could use it here in Lorain County.
Well, comment to that, Commissioner. They're about $1 billion increased revenues versus last year's figures and took the
Right.
cuts out of us.
Right.
So that's one of the parts we're fighting at.
Right, they took it from us to fill their budget gap, and they overfilled it, and now we should get our money back. This kind of went under the radar at the end of last year. Fox 8 and Drug Mart, they had it was a 2011 calendar almanac, which they sold, and because of the proceeds of that, they gave our dog pound a $150 donation. And I just wanted to thank them for that, because I don't think we knew about it. And Dick Goddard and the president from Drug Mart, John Gans, G-A-N-S, from Medina. So thank you to them for that $150 donation. I'm sure it'll go to a very good cause. I'm glad you're here, Ron, because the other thing is we are also looking at the Attorney General's office has a local debt collection program, and we're sending it to the prosecutor's office for review, and also you're reviewing it, and the sheriff has reviewed it, and the sheriff's comments were, we had the sheriff's office would be willing to share any information with the AG's office on what debts have not been collected, but I believe that the Lorain County Commissioners need to run the program and sign any MOUs, et cetera. What they do is they collect debts over $100 for debts that we are unable to collect. So I know we write off a lot of debt each and every year that goes uncollected, so hopefully we can all get together with them, and it's free, it doesn't cost us anything, and I think we need to move ahead and get all those funds.
Don't write off any debt, but
No, you don't, the sheriff's office does.
they have the ability to tax refund money.
You have to come up.
winnings,
Can you
other
come up
things that others
again?
can't.
Can you come up again, because we won't be able to hear you. Teresa's getting it for you.
I served with Mike DeWine in the House Senate. Didn't vote for him for Attorney General, but he's doing a great job. And part of that is this new collection effort gives him the ability that our collectors don't, Bob doesn't. We can't tax refunds, tax lottery winnings, tax, or take our money out of any of those things and make us whole. And it's 'cause it's hard to collect money nowadays.
Well, they take it out of state income tax if they
Yeah.
have an income
Yeah,
tax.
the refunds, yeah.
Right. And then also, I know Sally Cornwell, who works in your office, and that's another one. God rest his soul, too. Ed Cornwell passed away last week. Really sad. He was a great man, too. We're losing a lot of good men, unfortunately. But she had mentioned about taking a like $50 collection or $100 collection on people when they're served or when they're charged, and getting good addresses and contact information from those people. Is it something that we can do in your office, something like that, to be able to collect on these?
We're doing everything we can, and the prosecutor's office has been very helpful in the past. But the Attorney General has tools that we don't have. So we're really hopeful. We're very supportive of this program.
Okay, good. And thank you. Thank you for coming back up again, Ron. I think I'm done with you. I think that's it, unless somebody sparked something in my memory. So go ahead, Ted.
Okay, thanks. Art Weber was a very dear and close friend and mentor of mine, one of my first supporters when I ran for office. We were very close. His wife Nancy's a wonderful person, and he treated us all like family, even though they had no kids. I'll miss Super Bowl with the man every year. We had some great times together. Busy week. I guess I'll just expound first on Commissioner Kokoski on the Gungor report. That's one of the major issues we have out there. The state has got $1 billion more in revenue. On the sales tax give back, it's between $1.3 billion and $1.7 billion projected on Legislative Services Commission and the CCAO with our policy people. I would think, just in all fairness, because this year they're going to do the first biennial review of a state budget that's scheduled for June, that they will see the error in their ways and they will return more money so we can provide the local government they mandate us to. So hopefully that will go, but that's one of a forceful document. We've been tracking that month to month, seeing the uptick. So also, Commissioner Kokoski and I attended the Team Lorain County presentation last week, an update on economic development in Lorain County and where we've been heading and where we're going. Great presentation. They're one of our partners in the Lorain County Growth Partnership. As I talked about a week ago in one of the talks I had, and I think Commissioner Kokoski has mentioned it, 5 years of the Growth Partnership, over 6,000 new jobs and retained jobs in Lorain County, makes us one of the success stories of Northeast Ohio. Also last week, I am part of a group of county commissioners across the state between Indiana and Pennsylvania who are joining up through resolutions that all our boards have made to support a study and or holding up on the sale or lease of the Turnpike. Myself, County Executive Ed Fitzgerald, who's leading the charge, being the largest county, Russ Pry from Summit County, their county executive, Mahoning County Commissioner John McNally, Pete Gherkin from Lucas County wasn't available that day, but we started a press conference roll from Youngstown last week into Cuyahoga County Administration Building. It got great coverage regionally and statewide. What Executive Fitzgerald has proposed is we join together to do a study on actually what the true benefits are. The governor is moving forward They originally wanted $1.5 million in federal funds to do a study on the benefits of selling or leasing the turnpike. They've since expanded that. They're going to award a contract to KPMG, but they've asked for $2.85 million, so I don't know what costs double now than what it cost 6 months ago. Executive Fitzgerald believes most of the work can be done in-house by his economic development people, and we won't need to spend those kind of money. There might be some small parts that the counties have to participate in if there's an independent consultant needed. I spoke with Bill Monahan from Erie County. Some of the small counties wish to participate. Williams County's been leading the charge in northwestern Ohio, so that was it's nice to work regionally on issues that affect us all. The Turnpike is the best maintained highway in the state of Ohio. It has no general fund dollars into it. It's paid for based on the tolls we all choose to pay and the small bit of gas tax it gets from its gas stations on the Turnpike. So, I mean, we hope to move forward on that. The study will be done in 6 months. What else did we do? Commissioner Kokoski and I also we're at an endorsement of Marcy Kaptur for Congress. We both believe that she is the person best to represent Lorain County, and since we are sort of like the battleground for that district between Toledo and Cleveland, it was nice to see the support from across the board. Oh, congratulations. I was at an event Saturday night. Second annual Pete Soto Chili Cook-Off. Pete's a longtime friend of mine, former City of Lorain police officer who then moved to City of Avon, was injured last year. He's done a great job bouncing back. But Chris Barton from the Avon Police Department put this the second year in a row for a group called Lorain Blue, which will help any injured officers in our county. It's a great turnout, great event. What else do we have on there? There's just a ton of notes. Team Lorain County Executive Committee also met this week, and we'll be working towards the final draft and resolution, working through Team NEO to be the sub-grantee for the new Jobs Ohio program, which will be part of Lorain County, Erie County, and Huron County. So we'll be meeting with the commissioners and economic development people from those entities shortly to finish that up so Jobs Ohio can move forward. That's the end of my report.
Commissioner Williams?
I just wanted to bring up some old business that we talked about before. The video editing on there. $25,000. I just wanted to find out where the board stood on that. Are we just going to go with $25,000 and
Cap it at
cap it so
$25,000?
it can't go 1 cent over? Because if it does, we're in violation.
No,
Yeah, I
it's not
think-
violation because
Well-
we're changing violation's a strong word, Tom. Because we expand the scope of work, it's sort of like if we're putting a road down and decide you have to add a larger berm, that's where it sort of runs over. If we stay within the confines of what we do, that's fine. We can't be ordering additional tapings and such, so.
Well,
We're not going to
it-
have all the public hearings on sales tax and things like that, so I don't think we're going to go over like we did before. But Jerry,
Okay.
do you want to talk about that? I think you guys did a little review of what we should or should not do.
Well, the analogy Ted made is correct. You know, you can, because it happens a lot with things like salt contracts. You can bid out a contract for salt based on, you know, your experience thinking that it's going to be under $25,000. Then you have a bad winter or something, and you all of a sudden need more salt. There's no problem going back with the original vendor and increasing the amount. What you're really doing is entering into then a separate contract with them. But you know, if after year after year after year, you order $40,000 of salt, somewhere along the line you have to say, look, we have to anticipate that we're going to go over and bid it. And that's kind of where we are with this situation. As you've mentioned, Lori, we've had a couple of years where we had some unexpected hearings that required us to go back to Hal and ask him to do more work, and that's really going into a new contract. I'm trying to recall, there were a couple of years we went a little, you know, more than a few $100s. Most of the time it was a few $100.
I think it was 6 years.
Okay. But in any event, since it's now happened repeatedly over 7 years, my recommendation is that we strictly stay within the confines of the 25,000, and if for some reason we need to go over that, then we make other arrangements on that.
And isn't there things in place to make sure that we don't do that, like in our purchasing department, or somehow, you know, a check and balance somewhere where it says, hey, you know, if you're going to do this and it needs to be bid out, or?
Well, it's the problem is that there are exceptions to bidding, and it's one of the constant problems that we face on the county level and with townships too. Unlike municipalities, where they have pretty much one bidding standard for everything they do, so everybody knows the minute you see that amount you're going over, it's caught. With counties and with our purchasing department and the auditors and everybody, we have so many different units that come through. The different, we get road things from Ken Carney that are not the same bidding level. Mm-hmm. We get all our different agencies, so they aren't going to automatically see that 25 and go, that's a problem. So
right.
It's a problem when you're dealing with the county, because we don't have one standard number that fits across the board.
And the other thing that kind of jumped out at me when we talked about it one time when this first came about, and we had gone out over a couple $100 or so, and you said, well, if we would have bid it out, it would have cost us a couple $3,000 to go through the bidding process. Right. So, I mean, it's like, do you want to try to stay under that $25,000, or do you want to spend the $2,000-3,000 to bid it out? So I think we'd be better off just like a not to exceed $25,000.
Well, what happened last year was it came under the 25,000, and there was an $1,800 purchase order put in.
For what?
That was at the end of the year to cover the cost. So it took it over to $25,000, and then we have additional years where we've been at it. My stance is still not to do the video editing and take the $25,000 and use it for something else. Again, I went through with our IT guy, Ernie Smith, and there are ways that we could do it where the editing is not needed. And we could have what we currently have, this screen here, for the majority of it, and do what the intent is for, to get the information out to the general public. And I just think with all the issues that we're having with the budget, and that $25,000 that could have went towards, could go towards Ron Nabakowski in order to invest in Lorain County to try to bring in additional revenue. So. But there is a trend here. Last 6 years, I believe we have gone over the $25,000. I can't recall it ever being bid out as far as what I'm seeing in Oracle. I would still prefer not to do the service and have it be shown on cable, but that's up to the board. Any discussion on that?
I still like the fact that we have Hal doing what he's been doing for years. I think he does a really, really good job at it, and I think it shows transparency to the public of what we're doing. And
well, we're not going to lose the transparency.
But we don't have a way to get that information out there any other way right now.
If you eliminate the editing, you're not eliminating it being broadcast. You're still broadcasting it. You're just not putting the enhancements that he does to the video.
Like the dog at the beginning, and
well, we can still do the dog. I mean, there are ways with the cameras, the way they're set up. I went back there, and me and Ernie spent the time where we can position it where you can still do the dog. It's basically
I know,
a
but I'm just saying,
system.
who's going to take care of that and getting it over? Jim, is it an issue having somebody come in here every time we have a meeting and working all the cameras back there and getting that information to the college to put it on the TV? I mean, somebody's going to have to do that. That's not a free thing.
My understanding of Commissioner Williams' position is that we would not be putting it on the cable, we would be live streaming it.
No, we could still do it on cable.
He's saying cable and live streaming.
We have the equipment in the back where we can
We
take
do.
it out from the, being a tape that we currently use, to put it where we would burn it just directly to a DVD and provide it directly to the cable station, just like the townships and several of the cities do.
Well, we could. We don't have we don't have a cable access. Our cable access is vis-a-vis going on now a 13-year relationship with the college to broadcast for us. The tapes are delivered there and I'm assuming in a format that they need to operate the equipment. I don't know what that is, so I don't want to pretend I have any advanced knowledge of this. And then they slot it into various segments in their programming. And our timeframes have been well established for quite a while. Could we do it? I'm assuming we could. I'd have to look at the logistics, but we'd have to have it out there and available for them to load up their broadcasting whenever they accomplish that. I don't know whether they set their broadcasting 24 hours in advance or they do it ongoing. I don't have the answers for those things, but I'm assuming that we could figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we got a good IT person with Ernie, and I'm sure we can go with ways to figure out how to do the live video streaming, doing the download, and then converting that over. It may be too large to actually send it to them, but we might be able to access it where we give them access to one of the networks where they could download from there.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much in technology.
if they're willing to do that,
Right.
on their end, because that's going to increase their work on their end.
Right.
I can't respond for another organization to say what they're willing to do and not willing to do. The question is, can we do something? I think that if we work hard enough, we can do just about anything we want. Now, whether the board wants to head in that direction, that becomes a different issue. The one thing I don't want to do, though, is I don't want to have my IT folks driving back and forth between here and the college.
Exactly. I agree with you on that.
That is an extraordinarily large waste of time, so we would have to develop some process whereby we were able to get that to them in a format that was clean, that they can air it with, but that wasn't costing us a lot of labor time. That's all. That would be my only concern.
And the other thing we can do is we can take a look at we have Elyria High School right down the street. They have that, the students that are trained in it and other individuals, different high schools, JVS. Sure, there are a lot of options that we can look at, in order to reduce this $25,000. So, but that's what I would like to do, is head forward with that and see if we could get, look at the college, look at JVS, look at the high schools, and see what it would take to do it, and just eliminate the editing. Would I have someone to agree with me on this?
I'm comfortable with the way it's being done now, Tom. I mean, I made my statement on
Okay.
it.
Let me see what Shirley has to say. Shirley?
Shirley R Johnson, Oberlin. My last hearing exam indicated that I have a small deficit in one ear in the upper ranges. I find it very hard to hear Mr. Williams for the most part at these meetings. I didn't catch on for some time what he was talking about, this $25,000. I gather we're on the video whatever we call that situation again. It seems to me if you're going to think of transferring out of what you have now into something otherwise, you really have to have a truly decent study of that. How those other facilities that you might consider really work. We had them in Oberlin from our high school for a while, and we have, and then that drops off, and then the students don't turn up, and various things happen, so you don't get either complete coverage on a regular basis or adequate coverage, and it's not something you can count on. If you're going to transfer it out of the current situation, you're going to have somebody be in charge of it. You're either adding, you talk about, I don't know whether, you talk about Bernie, I don't know whether Bernie is supposed to be the one that takes on the extra duties to see it's all done correctly, or Mr. Cordez, who is the county administrator, or what. But it seems, I guess as a citizen, I think it's unfortunate to hear this repeated again without an adequate study of the whole matter. Thank you.
That's part of what you said is my concern too. You get what you pay for. If you have volunteers from the schools coming, if they lose interest or they're sick or, you know.
What's their budget that they can't do it anymore?
Right. I
There's a lot
mean,
of
there's a
variables.
lot of things that you have to look at. And I've been here for 7 years now, a little over 7 years, and Hal has never missed a meeting. He's never not shown up. He's never not gotten it on. I mean, he is 100% on time, online, everything. He's done a good job. He's not any of our picks. He was here way before we got here. He doesn't even live in Lorain County. He doesn't care if, you know, Republican, Democrat. He's so, like, non-political, and that's why I like him. I don't know. I'm just afraid to make the change because I don't know what to expect when you get what you pay for. What are we going to get for free?
Well,
All of our employees are already working way more than they have before, doing other jobs because of the people that are no longer here anymore. So
I mean,
we can't
haven't-
expect Mr. Cortez or Ernie or anybody else to worry about taping our meetings and getting them to the college and whatever all it takes to get that done. Hal's done a good job, and I don't want to change
It's
what we're
20,
doing.
the way I look at it, it's $25,000. It's $25,000 that we took away from transportation as well, that money could go towards. It's $25,000 that could go towards any other type of project, 4-H, to the recorder for her toner. We can set it up with the system where the clerk can actually hit the buttons. It's 3 buttons where you can do this. It's not rocket science. It's not something where, you know, the townships pay $50 to have a guy sit back there and record it. To me, the objective of these meetings is to get the information out there.
And that's what we do.
And that's what we're going to do. We can do it at a lower cost. $25,000 to edit it, so our names appear on the screen when we're talking, or somebody's at the podium. To me, it's just a waste of money. But I would like to go through, and I would like to have the board's thing to contact JVS, contact the schools. I know Leary High School.
Well, go ahead
they
and
did
contact
that.
them and see, like, what,
So, but, you know,
if you
I-
want to do that, go, by all means,
But at the
contact
same
them,
time,
see.
if I can get them to agree to it, I don't want to go out
Not
and
to agree to
say,
it, just to see what they would charge, or,
I want some type of commitment though from the board saying, hey, if they can do it and we can reduce it and we can get it televised, that we will go that way. It's not worth my time to go through and try to set this up, and I can get it to work if the board's not in agreement. That's why I'm bringing it up for
With
this.
anything here, we bring it back to the board after we do our research and get all our information, try to share that with the board, and then try to get some agreement. Nobody's going to give you a carte blanche, yes, if you bring it back, we're going to agree to it. That's not how we've ever done things. Bring back the information you think is pertinent in a form and have them give it to us, and then we can peruse it, look at it. If that's the mission you want to be on, you can go do that. Nobody's saying you can't do that,
No,
but
I'm
you
not
can't get a
saying-
commitment from the board prior to having
I'm
all
just-
that information.
I'm just looking for a commitment saying that if we can reduce cost, I think it's very simple.
It's not a carte blanche. Reduced cost is not what it's all about.
Okay. All right, well, if that's your
That's
stand.
mine. That's
Okay.
mine.
All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up too, and again, it's a small dollar amount, but it was something that we tabled before, was the cable for the commissioners and that, just eliminating that. Are we in
how
agreement?
much is the commissioners? Do
It's
we-
$2,800, I believe, for us, raised roughly.
For the 4th floor, or for
Right.
commissioners everywhere? Lisa, do you have that with you,
It's for the whole county.
for the whole county?
Well, not the whole county.
Well, wherever we provide,
Right. The jury room, the commissioners primarily, but,
it's for the Justice Center and the admin building, and I believe we have some out in some other tertiary buildings. I'm just, again, you said when you said it was 4th floor, you said yes. I don't want anybody thinking we got a $2,800
Sheriff's
cable bill for the
Department?
4th floor.
no. they have a
I don't
different
believe
one.
that we provided the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, Sheriff Department, it's going to be between the Justice Center and here, and just the way the cable lines ran. If you're going outside to other buildings, it's going to be their own, like 911 has their own cable, and that's for the Homeland Security. But
Mr. Lubbe, any comments again? And I know there was something with DR in there too, but I don't see
That they
DR
didn't
for-
have a
Well-
cable bill, so theirs is figured in that amount
no, that's an
also.
additional $800. That's for the detention home.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Lubbe from the Common Pleas General Division. Clearly, the Commissioners are free to do as they please, particularly with respect to their areas. I think on behalf of the court, we would request that you consider not eliminating the cable service for the jury. I mean, ultimately, what you would probably end up doing is just cost shifting that to us, and we would then cost shift it back to you. The judges feel fairly strongly that that is a necessary service, that jurors who are compelled to come in and perform a service for the community deserve to have. And so, I mean, again, it's your province to do as you please, but you're not really going to, when it comes to the Justice Center in the jury service, achieve real cost savings there, just a cost shift. So that would be my recommendation to you in your consideration.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
So basically, we're going to pay for it.
I mean,
and
if
have-
I probably have cable in my office, you could take that out. I don't need it. I don't know if you pay extra for that or not.
It doesn't
'Cause I don't
actually,
even watch that TV. I only watch tapes,
it actually
meetings.
does,
Go
it
ahead.
doesn't really work like the cable at your home.
House, right.
Where your cable comes in, you get a box, you pay by an outlet. We have a commercial account. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and I can get more explanation for you. Again, I'm not trying to say we should or shouldn't have it. I'm just don't want the public to think that it's only on the fourth floor of the admin building and a few offices. I get very concerned
We're
about
all
that
watching
perception.
Oprah during the day.
Maybe you are, Commissioner, but I'm not.
What's that new one called? The Chew. We're watching.
The
View?
Yeah, no, the Chew.
Chew.
Michael Simon, the Chew. We're watching, right?
But I can get a better breakdown of it for you if you like. There was a breakdown out there, I think that was sent around to the commissioners of who had, where it was located and what the cost was. But it's on a commercial account, and they handle that differently than they do a residential account.
There was a total of $15,000, I believe, for Time Warner Cable, which was actually cable service for the different ones. $2,800 roughly is just coming out of the commissioner's budget. Then $800 from domestic relations for the detention home.
And then what about the Justice Center?
The
That's
Justice Center for the jury,
It's
it's part of it.
Commissioner's bill.
basically what
Commissioners.
you're doing is you have people there for a few hours that watch on a 25-inch television. To me, it's just another waste, but if you guys want to keep it,
For
that's
the
up to
people
you.
who are serving as jurors, called to serve, and they sit a lot when they aren't being called. I understand some convenience. You still do coffee over there for them too, Tim?
No? No bus, no way to get there, no coffee, no TV. Poor jurors.
I would share with the commissioners, this is probably a component that you guys don't see and don't appreciate. And Commissioner Williams, I think the solution is to have bigger TVs for those poor people. I mean, you're right, they have a tiny TV over there. I don't think most of the public, unless they've actually gone through jury service, knows what sometimes an onerous duty it is. These people come out, we used to be able to at least convey them from a long position to get here. In the wintertime, they got to walk now. A fair distance in the cold. For a lot of people, I get calls, if not daily, weekly, that have escalated up to my level, where people, the burden of jury service is difficult for them. They're trying to get a job, they're currently employed, their employer is not very understanding. So these people, we ask them to come in there, we pay them a pittance for this service, and we tell them, by the way, if you don't show up, we're going to arrest you. One of the things I had a meeting with the judges this weekend about, and we discussed the difficulty we have and actually the increasing costs we have on the court side in getting a pool of jurors, because we're now sending out more and more notices and less people seem to be responding to them. And we discussed some of the causal relations of that, but I would caution you on making it more onerous on these people. To say that they're sitting down there for a couple of hours, it's their time that they are compelled to do as part of being a good civic person. And I think it's not only necessary but responsible for us as leaders of government to provide them some small distraction like cable. So that's what I would relate to you.
Or we could use the projector and the screen in there and actually use the internet and provide the service for free. I mean, there's technology in there. And that's where I guess I get so frustrated with this, is we operate like we're back in the 1990s on things. And we just continue to throw a little bit of money out. The bigger issue is, where are we at with the, Tim, it's not up to you anymore.
One more
Yeah.
point I would just add, Commissioner. Excellent. If you, all I'm responding to is somebody saying, we're going to take this away.
Yeah.
By all means, if you come to say, look, we have an alternative for these individuals, by all means, that's great.
Yeah,
We'd love to hear it.
and I understand where you're at, Tim.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We're going into 2013, and we're not able to even make the small hits. To me, this is the low-hanging fruit. You know, depending on where we're looking at, you know, October, this board agreed that we were looking at about a $10 million deficit. Now, 2 weeks ago, it was as low as $2 million, and I guess now it's about up to $4 million, depending on who you talk to. And in December, we said that we were going to go through and we were going to make cuts in the middle of January.
And I thought we said after the first
We're
quarter.
now in the, no, we said the middle of January. Now we're in the second week, or
So
second meeting of
So
February.
we said we would start looking at it, but also in that process, there's been legislation changed, other actions moved between the new House Bill 225, an additional $750,000 looking at for a 2013 revenue stream, which the treasurer has agreed that we can go out to municipal bonds. Yesterday, working with the auditor through Paul Adams, our Board of Elections, we're going forward on a new mailing program, going to save at least $40,000 for the special election and the general. That's $800,000 there, based on, because we have no
Hopefully
numbers yet
collections with the
projected.
AG.
Well, we don't, that's another possibility. And we also have the projected casino revenue. That'll probably be about $1 million based on the numbers I'm
Right.
figuring. We're at $1.8 million. Based on the $1 billion the state of Ohio is taking in over a year's time. We're doing a biennial review, and you have the branches of government working to get a portion of that back into local government. I'm not prepared until we don't have another answer when these things are happening. We pick up a couple of $1 million this year, Tom, but we're never on our numbers.
Well, the
Okay.
thing, you're also telling people that you're willing to put a sales tax out there. If you're not willing to,
Correct.
if you're not willing to actually make cuts because you don't know where the
We've
budget
made
is.
$18 million worth of cuts since we became commissioners.
Right.
We
There's
have
not-
made cuts.
We have made the cuts, and I'm agreeing with Commissioner Kokoski there. And if we aren't successful at other avenues through the state organization and things I work on all the time that I keep the board aware of, we're going after the additional revenue they've taken in. If not through policy, and you guys get the SIDS report and what comes up from the state organization, working towards getting some of the indigent attorney fees paid for by the state, a higher percentage, and/or taking it all, and/or taking the Board of Elections costs because it's a state mandated. These are all things working through the legislature this
Right.
year in an election year that would make a severe difference in our budget shortfalls, success wherever it is. If they picked up, you know, the full 50% of indigent attorney fees as they should. Last year was our best year at 35%. It's been as low as 24%. Here, pay the 50. Pick up the new mandates under the Board of
you think-
Elections. Those are all the issues that have to be addressed before you go and start
Do you
ravaging
feel,
county government.
do you feel that with everything that's coming out from the state, that there's not going to be a deficit in 2013?
No, I wouldn't say that, not in the least. I
And that's
don't-
where I'm saying that we need to start planning on making some changes. I'm not saying to go through and cut the $10 million, and that if you guys don't feel
Tom,
comfortable.
let's go back. The $10 million was the tax budget. That's the May submitted tax budget. Based on everything that went and what our departments did the past year, we took the $2.3 million in cuts.
Well,
Okay. We also had 1.2 or 1.3 million returned in encumbrances that weren't spent by all the departments, came back into our carryover number to balance out. So those are all the numbers that you take into account
Okay.
to get it. That's where my $4.5 million number is coming up at. Then based on $800,000 in additional revenues, we also have the $1 million in the casino stuff. Then we're also looking at the $1.3 million less on the inside millage that we're going to have to apply towards the Justice Center after doing the refinancing 2 years ago because we're paying the non-callables. So I mean, there's a lot of those scenarios that are working through.
All right. What are you projecting the deficit's going to be for 2013?
I can't tell you till after the biennial review, but the state of Ohio, they got $1 billion extra money currently. If they come back with half of that,
Yeah.
the proposal you guys all endorsed that we're getting support across all political jurisdictions, if they came back with just a third of the sales tax, and I did this with the Chronicle yesterday when I was trying to explain it out, if they gave us just 1/3 of the 1%, which would be about 10 or 11 million dollars, and we got our 30%, that's 3.3 million dollars that we'd have
we
additional
would have
revenues
zero.
from them taking over, not having the 50% cut starting in July 1. I mean, there's a lot of things happening now currently, not only nationally, but at the state level and local governments between the Ohio Municipal League, the Ohio Township Association, wherever Neil's sitting at, 'cause I know they're fighting for it. I don't see Neil in here.
He's here. Lynch?
Yeah, I didn't see him.
He's back there.
Oh, you're behind Ben, okay. The Ohio Township Association is fighting for additional dollars in local government funds, correct, Neil? Correct. I mean, we're all working in concert, so.
I understand everything that's
Okay.
going in through and being worked on,
Mhm.
but we're still looking at a deficit. And, last year, we kept holding off, and we knew that we were gonna have
We
numbers.
did make cuts last year.
Well, yeah, me and you made cuts of $428,000, and then we had to make additional cuts.
Correct.
We're looking at additional cuts in 2013.
Correct, without a
Correct.
doubt. Just don't know what
Right.
that number is, Tom.
Okay, I'm a person that prefers to plan ahead and start, not looking at year to year, but let's try to get a 3 to 5 year.
You
plan
can't
out.
because the legislature keeps changing the rules on us. Hell, we can't go month to month anymore if the rules are changing on us.
Okay, that's the end of my report.
Hold on one second, let's get through the rest of our, did you want to talk about this subject?
Oh, pretty much, yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just looking at the paper this morning, this $1 billion you're talking, oh, by the way, Rick Krueck from Kipton, sorry. According to the governor, he's sitting on a rainy day fund. Is that including that $1 billion? Is that in addition to this $1 billion?
Well,
And
listen,
does he realize that it's raining all over the state?
in his State of the State yesterday, and I caught most of it, not all, I was watching it online. He said when he entered office, there was 89 cents, and the budget director wrote another check for 89 cents to double the amount of the rainy day fund. They now have approximately $247 million in there. Is that about the number?
It doesn't have a number.
I think he said $247 million now in the rainy day account. And I don't know if that is where they've moved, or if they did that under their budget appropriation, where they took 30% of local government money and then established a rainy day account. I don't have that information. I know he said there's $247 million in the rainy day account.
What's he want to hold it for?
Rainy day?
It's pouring.
It's raining. It's raining right now. To tie up that money, I think, is wrong. I mean, it's a lot
Criminal.
more than,
It's criminal.
Right.
yeah, it is. Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I've got right now.
Teresa?
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second,
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment?
Shirley R Johnson, Oberlin.
A lady who needs no introduction.
Thank you. Well, I think there may be a few people that don't know who I am. I want to add a little something to what I said before. I looked in the manual that I get from that we all get from the state about open meetings and open records and so on. And the original open records law, I think, was passed in the early 1950s. I think they were started by Chuck Mosier, who was a Republican representative to the state government at that time, as well as a local editor of a newspaper. And he was a very strong advocate for open meetings. Don Pease, who came along after him and was in our state government, also was and added to it. And in the same way as the Constitution was developed a long time ago, the early meeting law was adopted a long time ago from the state. I think we need to remember that when it talks about the importance of open meetings and open records, we also should be talking about accurate and objective reporting that is allowed to the public by having a professional, to the extent that we have a professional video reporting of public meetings. It's important for history. It's important for the accuracy of it. I haven't read minutes of the county commissioners for a long time. I don't know how good they are or how, and what they put in and what they leave out. I know that the videotaping of these meetings show things to the public about you folks as people we have to vote for that the newspapers don't tell us. We have to remember that the newspapers and journalism in general are declining, and we have less coverage at all meetings. And in Oberlin, they've also changed hands, the newspaper, and we have, in the last several months, if you look through our local paper, we don't have very much objective or reporting of what's going on at either city council or school board meetings. So I think I am again stating that I think it's very important to continue the method that we have. I think since I started coming in 1997 to these meetings, there's been a great deal of improvement over a number of areas. I wanted to say something else, and I can't remember what it was about that. I've also, in relation to what Mr., I don't know whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly, L-U-B-B-E,
Lubbe.
Said about the jury. I have been called to the jury once, and I sat in a jury room. I don't like to look at what's on the television set there usually, but a lot of people do. We aren't allowed to read papers and newspapers and other kinds of things, and or even perhaps discuss amongst ourselves what might be going on. I happened to be called for a case that was dealt with an Oberlin family that I had some personal contact with, and I knew when I got back, I didn't know what the case was. I sat there for hours waiting when they made a private deal finally, and I found out what the case was. I'd have been disqualified anyway, and I think that may happen to a number of people. I think there is reason to have something for those folks to do while they're waiting under those circumstances. I'm sure I'm going to think of lots of other things to say, but I can't remember them all now, but I'd really like you to be... Oh, I know what it was I wanted to say. This is what you're really discussing up there is what is part of our whole national problem about what we want to pay for in government, whether we want to have, how much government we want to have, but I never hear any discussions when some of these things are brought up here about the consequences of the cuts that you're making. It always sounds, Mr. Williams, you always sound like you just love any cut you can think of, and I never hear you talk about the consequences of the cuts that you are making.
Well, let's take a look at this here. The video editing, we're going to still televise. That was the plan. So you're still going to get the information out. You're just not going to get the
No, we don't know
additional-
that. No, that's exactly my point. You don't know. You know now that it's done. I don't want to. You know now that it's done in a good and accurate way. You don't know that it will be. Maybe you can prove it if you get the information. But from my experience since 1947 in going to meetings in Oberlin and then in the county, I have not found that to be correct, that the kind of substitute that you're suggesting will work in the way it ought to work. But we'll see.
We own the video equipment. We have the IT personnel. I disagree with you.
Well,
on
I
that.
don't
mean,
want
if
you-
townships can take a video camera and capture all the information, give it to the residents, right, and they pay somebody $50 to do it, I'm pretty sure we can do it as well. And I'll put my engineering background on that as well, too, because I've done it for other companies as far as going through video streaming, which will get it out to the public, which I brought up, and then archiving it on the website so you can actually watch it anytime instead of just the 2 times that it's scheduled for.
I actually agree with that. I like
Yeah.
the idea of live streaming. I've said
I
that
mean, there are a
before.
lot of
I
things-
agree with that part.
Right, but we're not going to use the editing version of it because that gets into a whole different type of realm of cost. We can put in a camera in here and do a live stream, very cheap, for under $1,500, I would
Well,
say
I didn't mean to
comfortable.
start the argument all over again.
Well,
but
no, I want to present, I'm not saying that we're going to get rid of the information. I'm saying that we're actually going to provide different ways and to use that money. Now, $25,000, okay, it may not sound like a lot. Would you prefer that $25,000 went to the transit or video editing?
To what?
Transit or video editing?
Well, I see, I don't think that should be the choice.
It has to be a choice.
And you're not giving me a true, I don't know how accurate the reporting is going to be when you get a student, when you go to whatever other method you suggest. And as I say, I didn't get up here so we'd go over this whole, you all have discussed it some, but I think we need to know about that. You're forcing me to go back to look at township records now to see what those tapes are like and how they tape and how open their meetings are again and so on, which I don't really have the time to do anymore at this point in my life, but maybe I will.
But you made a claim that I just look at ways to make cuts. No, I'm looking at living in our budget. That's it. I want to keep the services that are going to provide good services to the citizens of this county. We have a deficit coming. I know I'm the one up here talking about it the most, but I want to make sure that we're going to plan for the future on this. And that's why let's look at these low-hanging fruit that I call it in order to eliminate it. Yeah, is it going to be an inconvenience if we eliminate the cable television for the jurors? Yes, but there are other ways to get around that through technology, which will be at a reduced cost. Those are the things that I want to move forward with. And I'm sorry, I know it's nice coming in here and being able to watch one of the cable shows before the meeting, but is it really necessary? Is it necessary for the prosecutor to want to watch, television in his office? And with the jury, again, there are other ways that we can get around it. It's a small dollar amount, but if we can't make the small cuts, how are we going to get the people to buy into ever supporting a sales tax? It went down, by 2/3 last time. We have to change the way we're thinking. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, I know I observed that and where you're coming from, but and that's a national trend, and that's a national argument of what government should spend money on, and we have a national deficit and for all sorts of reasons. But I don't want to stand here at the podium and have a private argument with you. I think you've had some of that up there. I'm expressing my opinion as a citizen and an amateur expert on the open meeting and the open records law.
I don't take it as an argument. I encourage you to come up here because when you do bring stuff up, it does make me better on it. So by all means, continue to come up here.
Barry, Neil, she's coming to Carlisle and Amherst Township. Get out your meeting minutes.
Welcome every time. Like that fourth Tuesday of the month, Shirley, in Amherst Township at 7 o'clock, and you can be on camera.
Well, it's not the minutes I am.
You can't talk from there, Shirley. I would
It's all right.
just want to say, if we were to give up our cable, for instance, and we did have the issue of like another 9/11 attack or a Homeland Security issue or whatever, and like what happened last time before we did have cable up here, before we were even commissioners, and they couldn't get any information, that really makes me feel like we're going into the dark ages. We can't put like little rabbit ear antennas on your TV anymore, like if you wanted to just, find something out. I feel like we're going back into the dark ages, that we wouldn't have access to television if, in fact, I
don't think so because pretty much everyone carries one of these, a smartphone.
Yeah, but what happens if you can't get through on those types of...
Okay, so if you're using a satellite feed or something, you're going to still have the same issue. You can
We're
always
hardwired, though, with cable.
With cable the technology has improved where in 2001 with that issue, the internet coming up, there was a lot of times where it would crash.
Right.
Now you do have major issues that have happened where the sites aren't crashing as frequently.
But I mean,
and
if
there
you
are
had a
different ones.
problem with a satellite dish or something and you couldn't use your cell phones, you couldn't get on the internet, TV is the only way of finding out what's going on.
Where do you think the signal comes from? It comes from a satellite. Cable gets their feed from a satellite. So if a satellite goes down, we're turning it back to turn on the radio.
Radio's good. Yes.
Yeah, I just forgot one point Shirley reminded me. I got a little bit of an engineering background myself, and with your engineering background, I think you probably should realize that $25,000 is a bargain for the video editing, and the quality and the value that you're getting here, I think, is well worth the $25,000 spent.
The $25,000, I'm not disputing the quality. Hal does a great job on the quality.
And it's cheap,
Okay.
and it's a bargain.
What I'm disputing is the $25,000 is, we don't need it. We have the cameras here that we own. We have the equipment in the back room that we own. We won't get the fine things as far as the names coming up on there. But you're going to get the different shots, like the shot right now of showing you. We can have that shot. We can go to another shot where it would show the commissioners, and then a third shot where it would show the entire board up here, from the clerk all the way over to the assistant prosecutor. The microphones, everything we own on it. So you're not going to lose that much in quality. You're not going to get the bells and whistles. But for $25,000, my question is, do you feel that it's truly needed? I don't. I truly don't feel that it's needed on that. We can get the information out to the public. We can actually spend $1,500, and I believe it's going to be less than that, and do the streaming and everything else, too, to get the information out to people who don't have cable. If you have satellite, you don't get to see the meetings. So the $25,000 that you're spending for the few that are watching it, and for it being normally on only twice, is that really worth the money? That's my question. Now, the board's taken a stand on it that they feel it's worth it. I'm done with this conversation on it. I just, $25,000, it came up again because we had a history of going above the $25,000. So we need to make sure that we're not going to go above it, even 1 cent, or, we're not doing what the competitive bidding is truly set up for.
Have you thought about product placement, and maybe that would perhaps...
For what?
Product placement, get a Pepsi bottle up there or something. Maybe that'll help offset some of these
Well,
costs.
I put up my iPhone, so, Apple should send me, or send the county a check, so I don't think that's going to happen.
We could maybe get the county vehicles at the engineer's office to start taking in some advertising dollars. Plenty of room on those trucks, right?
Well, the buses didn't work, though, with the advertising.
No, we couldn't get a lot of advertising.
So that's where I stand. It's not about the quality, Rick. It's more just I'm questioning about the editing, the $25,000 and that. So.
I understand. I've been cutting pennies around the house too where I can, but still got satellite. Actually, I've been talking to the wife about getting rid of it, but it's not happening. So.
Well, you know what? I actually cut out the cable and that out of my own budget for a while, and through satellite they had a nice little deal that I couldn't pass up, so I went with it.
That's it.
Yep.
David?
Hello, David Ashenhurst, Oberlin. I'm tempted to ask Commissioner Williams these questions first, but I think I'm going to address them to Mr. Cordes. Mr. Cordes, does the county have an anti-idling policy on the vehicles in its fleet?
Actually, we don't, and the only fleet that would actually benefit from anti-idling would be the county engineer, and I see him.
And he does
He's
have
shaking
one.
his head, yes,
And
he
He's
has.
had one
that's
for
what I was
2
gonna say, I
years.
see him in
I
the back
understand.
saying,
I'm not asking about others. For the moment, I'm just asking about the things that are directly within your purview.
I don't feel we need one.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any vehicles other than
Just
transport.
That's fine.
asking.
That's a NOAC issue, the
Do we have a
anti-idling.
two-sided copying policy throughout your, the things under your control?
The things that some do, some don't.
Okay. Have there been energy audits done on all county facilities?
Yes.
And those are available to,
They're available, and not
The
only
commission.
have energy audits been done, we've done 2 major energy conservation upgrades under
Right.
House Bill 7, and we monitor every year the savings, and we're paying back the bonds that we issued for that with the savings, and we've actually saved more than what it's cost us to pay back the bonds under energy conservation upgrades under House Bill 7.
Good, so that's doing something to reduce that deficit. Do we put low flush toilets everywhere we can?
That was all part of the energy conservation upgrade to the building. In addition to water conservation, there was the use of alternative ballast and low consumption lighting, et cetera. So it was a very comprehensive package.
And we have the turning off the lights everywhere. I mean, that.
We do. One of the issues we have in the building, and sometimes people will see this in the evening, is that we maintain a certain amount of security lighting in the event that the building has to be evacuated. My problem with that lighting is it's on all night, and then after about 10:30, 11 o'clock, there's not many people in the building, and I'd like to see us do a better job with even maybe having some automatics on that. But the cost didn't outweigh the benefits didn't outweigh the cost of being able to do that.
Okay, and we've looked at the quality of insulation and everything in those energy control studies. That's all been taken care
We
of.
have, and we've done major upgrades. The biggest upgrade we did was to correcting all the windows and those issues where we were losing a lot of energy. It's a positive feed building, and we had so many leaks in the building. We were over conditioning the environment, both in the summer and winter, and we've corrected that. One of the problems we have now is the building has been a bit out of balance, and we're working on the balance, and we're shutting the building down earlier and turning it back on, so to speak, later in the morning. Through various desires to do a good job, people got the building out of balance. We brought in some people and rebalanced the building, and we got some additional savings that we teased out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahean, David. Thank you for waiting.
Actually, Mr. Cortez.
Well, I'll repeat what I said to you while we were on a temporary break. I'm appreciative of some of these questions. It does give us the ability to demonstrate that we have taken considerable measures to reduce and control some of those costs. And a lot of times those questions aren't asked, and they're very significant ones. And we've been actually able to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, especially in the energy conservation. And then once that debt service is paid for, even though we're saving additional money now, we'll be able to save that much more money after the bond issues was done. I think our bonds were only issued for 10 years under House Bill 7, and we're, I want to say, maybe 6 years into that right now. So a few years from now, the dividends will increase linear.
I said before, I don't have an engineering background, and in Oberlin we're doing a lot of these things both in residential areas, city buildings, other things. And in fact, we're about to have an audit of 6 businesses in downtown Oberlin through the Main Street organization, conducted by a student intern from Oberlin College. The only costs that are involved there are the firm, the engineering firm that's going to analyze the results that the Oberlin College intern takes in terms of data from these businesses, and those costs are being paid for by, in Oberlin, a thing called the Sustainable Reserve Fund, which is a thing in our electric utility that has awards for energy conservation projects. And again, so nobody in Oberlin is getting paid for any of this. But I guess my point here was we're talking about less cost for identical services. We don't even get into the quality argument. The building isn't any colder. At least if the building is colder, it's justified by, a whole lot of science and stuff. It doesn't change. It's not even similar service. We don't get into the quality argument at all. These are places, to me, this is low-hanging fruit. That to reduce line items that we have in ways that we can through study by students, because students can collect this data. It doesn't require professionals to do some of these things. And under the supervision of somebody who does have a background in engineering, it seems to me those things are possible. But I think the idea of reducing the size of line items is a better way to go after savings than taking an entire line item and trying to take it out. I really think you can find $25,000 in savings a lot more easily than you can say. You can go through the process of trying to figure out if you're getting the same thing for less money, or you end up, what one person thinks they don't need. I mean, I'm fine with not having my name printed under the thing when it goes out. I'm tall. People know who I am. But I guess the thing is, we don't even have to get into the quality argument if we look for places where it won't change the quality at all because the service is identical. And that's, to me, what I would consider low-hanging fruit. Or not fruit, because fruit is actually something that goes like that. It's actually, low-flow toilets are a little better. It's kind of like squeezing the trunk of a tree and seeing if you can have less stuff go up and down.
Well, David answered, that's similar to the $40,000 in savings and postage at the Board of Elections. Talking to a couple of people last year after the sales tax got crushed, they were talking about how the mailing stuff got done and how the Board of Elections did, and they found a way that our Board of Elections wasn't participating yet, and for a $380 fee to join something in the post office, which we got taken care of yesterday, they're going to achieve probably $40,000 this year in cost savings. So it's the same mailer going out, but you have to send out 500 at a time. You're throwing stuff at me. Sorry.
Well, that's
pen has become a weapon.
Those things, I really endorse the idea of finding ways out of these hard times in terms of the budget, but I really think squeezing line items is better than cutting them.
I agree, and that's why I keep working to get changes made so we can find other efficiencies, like the investing our own money in, local bonds to get 4.5% or 5% interest rates instead of getting
0.05.
0.0 or 0.25% to increase our income.
I mean, the issues that we did talk about, though, it's pretty simple. If you got JVS to do it or someone else, the volunteer, you could get the same quality. If you can't get those students on a regular basis, again, you're getting the information out. And I agree with you, Dave. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do through studies, but at the same time, when it comes to experience, and I'll give Hal credit on this, he has the experience. So if you do bring someone in from JVS, you may not get as good quality as you're getting with Hal, but you're going to get something that's still going to be respectful for the general public to view.
And quality and consistency, I think that's the second most important thing, even before quality. At least we know he'll be here to do the work. So
Well,
I think we debated this one to death.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't throw a pin at Ted. I put the pin in here. I was playing with it, and it actually
boys
snapped
and their
out,
toys.
So. I don't want you to think I'm throwing stuff at you.
You got 50 lights in here, probably cut back to 25. There's we use them right there.
Yeah, we, if you notice, our parking garage has really nice lights out there and way lighter than it used to be, and it's cost-effective and high efficiency lighting that we put out there, so it's a lot safer when you walk out there at night.
Yeah, I think the cost was $12,000, and our guys installed it themselves, and the cost savings are in $20,000 or $25,000 per year for a one-time purchase. I'm not an engineer, Rick. That's what you guys do. I don't know what they're called.
I know when we did our windows, we did that part when we were here,
Right.
and used to be able to hear the cars outside and driving up and down the road out in front of the building in my office. And now, even if it's raining and wet, it's like soundproof. So they did a really good job on the windows. I think, how much did we pay for that to get all those windows sealed up? 800? 80,000? I can't remember. I'm thinking 8 something.
They wanted $800,000 to replace the windows.
That's what it was, and we got it for 80. No.
You're excited, and you're right. What we did was, it was an extraordinary figure, and the recovery, the ROI just wasn't there. So we contacted local glass companies, And for about $65,000, I want to say, we had them come in and completely renovate all of these windows and reseal all of the windows. The biggest challenge has been keeping them closed. When people open these windows, and they're made to be open so you can do maintenance on them, they're a very expensive window. They actually come apart, the blinds can be repaired, they can be cleaned inside and out, and they're not modern gas sealed, but they do produce an air barrier, and that's why they're able to be tipped open, so you can do maintenance on the seals and on the windows themselves. Well, lots of times the employees open the windows, they're not latched properly, they're not sealed properly, and as I said earlier, this is a positive pressure building. The more leaks we got, the more that goes out, the harder it is for us to condition the building, and harder we got to drive our equipment, the more cost on the equipment. And the same thing, we have real significant problems with thermal loading on buildings this big. That is, one side of the building gets cooler or hotter than the other side of the building. You got perimeter heating. It's much more complicated than it appears, but we were able to produce a solution that saved considerable amount of money and at the same time lowered our energy cost.
Soundproofed.
Well, if you remember, you were here how noisy,
It was very noisy.
and
yeah.
one of the biggest benefits was the building quieted down significantly after we replaced the seals and
Yeah,
got
it
all the
did.
windows
Made a
shut.
big difference. Anything else, Teresa? We had public comment?
We haven't done that yet.
We haven't had public comment yet?
Yeah, we did.
We're reading.
Yeah, that was public
That was
comment.
public
Are we
comment?
ready for reading?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
done.
we're all done,
Ready.
okay, good.
The minutes are inaccurate. The minutes will be inaccurate.
All right, I move that we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator. And anything for you, Jerry? Nothing from the assistant county auditor?
I'll second.
Or prosecutor?
Wow, Ms. Kowski.
Woo, aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Hi.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held at the Administration Building,